Welcome, everybody. This is Kareen Mills, your podcast host, and you are listening to the Mother Hustler podcast. Today is a wonderful day because I have my really good friend. You guys are going to love her. She won't believe it, but I think she was born to speak in front of people, to tell her story because she's really good at telling her story. Irina Negrean, did I say that right?
I got chills.
I love my
Yeah, that was perfect.
Awesome. Welcome, Irina.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
We are so excited. I have listened. You spoke at Roar, and by the way, you can find her on YouTube. She had a really awesome speech, and I loved every process that you went through. Very resonated with me as an immigrant to this beautiful country that a lot of people take advantage of, or a lot of people take for granted, I should say. Yeah. So, just walk us through your journey. You can start wherever you want to start in your journey, and I'll just extract questions, so I don't necessarily have structures of questions. I'll just extract it from the journey that you tell us, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure, perfect. So I was born in a small country in Eastern Europe called Romania. Most people don't know very much about it except Dracula, a fictional character. The Romanians hate when people bring it up. And that we were communists up until like 29 years ago. Which would put me around like 2-3 years old when communism fell in our country. So I always tell people, like, if you think communism is this like abstract concept, it's not. I lived through it, and I'm young. And we have stories of my waiting in line. Like they wouldn't even know what the line was for, and they just get in that line. And sometimes you'd get like oranges, which were like so rare, or sometimes you'd wait in line for chicken feet, and we would boil those and make soup out of them. Like the communists kept Romanians in like a state of like utter terror and fear, and it was just survival. And I think that living in that kind of an environment really shaped who my parents were and who Romanians became, in terms of privacy, in terms of how people survive, and what thriving means. Like thriving means something totally different to an immigrant versus to an American. Wouldn't you agree?
100%.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times it's pointed out how different immigrants are from Americans. And I'm like, it's because we've been shaped by the things that happened in our country. And that was definitely the case in Romania. And so communism fell in around the time that I was 3 years old, and the revolution happened, and we basically overthrew our government. We didn't wait for Americans to pitch in and save us. We just kind of we took care of business, kicked them all out.
We got this. You're like, we got this.
Yeah, we got this. We're good. Romanians are go-getters. We just take care of our own ish, And I actually had a very happy childhood. I talked about that in Roar. I grew up very happy. I was very loved. My parents are amazing human beings. I don't say this lightly. I love a lot of people, but my parents are like God's bread on earth. I don't know how else to describe them. Wicked smart, wicked funny. And they raised my brother and I to be super happy people, even though all this stuff was happening, our world was turning upside down. And all I remember is a happy childhood, summers spent in the countryside, vacations at the Black Sea. I grew up very happy. And I think that the thing that my parents did that was the best for us was that they didn't let our environment shape us. They shaped us.
Wow.
And I think the love that was in our family and the sense of humor, none of us take ourselves too seriously. We're silly and goofy, and that really shaped who I became. And it kind of gave me the skill to blend in any environment and kind of assimilate easily, because I can make fun of myself all day long, and if you're laughing at me, then we're friends. And what better way to bond with another human being than to just put them like, look, I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
I love that about you because it really breaks the ice a lot, you know. You know, when you're in a room sometimes with women, and women as we are can be judgmental with each other. And I think that a lot of the revolution that's happening now, that we're empowering each other instead of judging each other, are just now starting to be very popular. But it started long time ago. We just haven't grasped this whole idea of, oh, if we actually lock arms together, we are the shit.
I got goosebumps. Woo!
You know, and so I want to talk a little bit about how you were raised happy, though, because I think that a lot of people can learn from how you were raised, because you know, with very commercialized, I truly believe that in America, the holidays were created by the stupid corporations. Because every holiday, you're supposed to dump money on whatever, Christmas. I mean, there's a holiday for everything here. And the way that we, and I know that when we had coffee, it's very parallel to your experience. And that the way that we enjoyed holidays in our country was more of passing food around, enjoying each other's company, being chaotic within each other, but that was not chaotic crisis. It was more chaotic happy, and it was like we just thrived when we were in each other's company, especially when there's food around. And so you know, I want you to let the world know that you don't need a lot. And we talked about being minimalists. You know, if you watched the picture that I spoke on stage, and I totally forgot to share this on stage, because sometimes when you get on stage, you look confident to other people, but you know what, girlfriends, inside you, it's like there's a war going there's a war going on, World War III going on in there. So I forgot. And if you've seen my the clothes that I wore in there, everybody thought they look expensive, they're beautiful, they're wonderful, but they came from Goodwill. And you know, the fall jacket that I wore had a ticket on them. It's all brand new. So I go to Goodwill and hunt for brand new stuff. And stuff that still has tickets on them. You know, like the jacket I wore was $49, a Target brand. You got it for $12.99 from Goodwill. The overalls and the bodysuit that I wore under it was $12.99. It was like, had a tag, a designer tag that was $59.99. And, you know, talking about being minimalist and also being frugal, I think we become that because we came from that environment where you don't have to have a lot to be happy. So talk about that. Talk about that.
We really didn't have options. Like, wouldn't you agree? Like, I don't know how other countries, but we didn't have apparel stores like Old Navy or Target. There was nothing like that. All we had that was brand new and from the West was secondhand stores. So how are you going to grow up to spend $250 on jeans when you've been spending, you know, you've been buying secondhand in Europe, you know?
Yeah, it hurts me when I do that. Like, or even when I hear someone do that. I don't do that. I mean, it hurts me to buy an iPhone, but it's a requirement. It's like a necessary evil. Yeah, it's I love how you said you were raised happy.
Yeah, I think even in the times where I had money and money was no object, I was kind of hesitant to invest money in things like that. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to everything, but I was raised to value certain things, and the rest of the stuff matters, but not nearly as much. So of course, later on in life, like now that I'm in my 30s, I became a minimalist, because when you strip all the BS and all of the things that don't really matter, the only thing that stays is family people you love and people who make your life more beautiful, your health, your relationship with the universe, and the rest is just fluff. Like, why would you work towards this certain lifestyle that really won't add to it? I've been wealthy, I've been poor, I've been somewhere in between, and none of that has affected my happiness. My happiness has been determined from the moment I was born by my family, and that's because of how I was brought up.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, like family, like holidays for us mean something totally different. And we talked about this when we had coffee. Like presents, like forget presents. Do you know the kind of food that is on our table every Christmas or every Easter? Like, who cares about the presents?
Who cares about that stupid little egg hunts?
Keep them. I'm cool.
It's fun for the kids, but I think we're shaping our kids in a very different world when we practice those things.
Yeah.
It's our practice that shapes them. It's not what we give them and what we buy them.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us about Irina as a teenager, and you finally came to America. Or
yeah.
Wait, you were 20 when you came?
I was 14 when I moved here. So my parents won the visa lottery in 2001, and we moved here on July 18th, 2001. And I was 14 years old, and I was conflicted. I mean, I remember being excited, but we just left everything that was familiar. We had a very happy life, and it took a long time for me to understand why my parents would move us across the world, away from, our structure, away from because the way that things work in Europe is you have neighbors, you have friends, the whole neighborhood, everybody's cousin and their cousin, and my parents had great jobs and they were very successful. So it just boggled my mind that they would just uproot us like this. But now, of course, I understand. But I was 14 and I just wanted to blend in. I did not want to stand out. I did not want to be like sticking out like a sore thumb. I just wanted to disappear in the crowd.
Wow.
And that was because in Romania, being a girl is held to such a high standard. It felt impossible for me. It felt like there was no way that I was going to be a girl and be okay the way that I was. And so to some extent, coming here, I could disappear. It just didn't matter how much I weighed, how I looked, how my hair looked, the color of my skin, none of that mattered. And I experienced, like, for the first time coming here into 8th grade, just complete anonymity. Like, nobody knew who I was, nobody knew anything. And to some extent, it was like intoxicating, because when something like this happens, you get to redefine who you are. And I think that getting a chance to reclaim who you are is so powerful. And we have opportunities in our lives, and I think you can let them break you, or you can let them redefine you.
Yes. So when in your life you discovered Irina? Because you said when you came to America, you had disappeared in the crowd.
Yeah.
And you kind of quieted your voice.
Mm-hmm.
But the Irina that I know now makes sure she is heard, right? So when did you find that version of you along the way? So
I gave birth to my daughter on April 21st, 2013. And it took some time, but around the time that I've talked about this with you before, around the time that her teeth came in, we started noticing that she had gap teeth like me. And I remember, I have horrible memories, so I don't usually remember important, monumental moments in my life, but this one kind of stood out to me because I remember sitting down with her, she was napping, and I was thinking, God, like, I hated my teeth all of my life, and all I heard was criticism. I was teased, I was made fun of, I hated them. And they were like, it's not something you can hide. You can't like put a shirt over it. And when I saw that my beautiful daughter that I'd wanted all my life, that I'd waited for, I always say, like, I feel like I've known my daughter before she was even a thought in our head. And I thought, if one day, like, she looks at herself and hates her gapped teeth or the color of her hair or the shape of her body, it would just kill me. And I'd been living like that. That's the life I'd been living where, as mothers, we show our children how to navigate this world, right? The way we love ourselves is the way they love themselves. And for me, in that moment, I felt like I was at a crossroads where I could just kind of, shrug my shoulders and say, like, you make mistakes and you hope that you raise them right and you hope that things work out. Or I could finally live how I would want her to live. And I could start loving myself the way I'd want her to love herself. So she kind of became this compass for me to kind of find myself. Because like you said, I just kind of toned everything down and I just wanted to disappear. But when she was born, I was like, screw that. Like, screw all of it to hell. Because I have a daughter to show this world to. I have a daughter to introduce into this world. And I'll be damned if I sit on my ass and let this world break her or change her or mold her. And that meant that I had to start talking. And it meant that I had to be honest about who I was. It meant that I had to make my peace with who I was, because nobody loves everything about themselves. But you can get to a good place where you feel comfortable in your own skin. And I think that a lot of people don't have that. And I think that that was a defining moment for who I am as a person, as a woman, and as a human being in this world. I think when you become a mom, you just want to make the world a better place for your kids. And that defines me to my core. I want to leave the world better.
That just, you're singing my song. It's like music to my ears.
Don't you think that, like, all mothers, when we become mothers, like, suddenly you care about politics, you care about culture, you care about family, you care about these things that you never cared about. Like, all I cared about was, like, happy hour. Like, I didn't care about, the world could do whatever, and I wanted no part of it. But now I'm like, no, I have to be the change. Otherwise, my daughter has to be the change. And I want to make the world, I want to start paving a path for her to walk.
This is why you are on this podcast. Because you are a mother hustler.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you are. And I love that, because that really resonated with me. My talk this weekend was titled, Don't Just Lead, Influence.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think as a mom, as a wife, as a community leader, it is, I said leadership. I heard another thought leader, Jason Maiden, that says leadership is a position, but influencing someone, including your husband, your family, or your daughter, or your sons, whatever it, like, you don't have to be this big deal of an influencer to influence someone. Yeah. You can begin at home. And he said that leadership is a position, while becoming an influence is a behavior.
Ooh.
And so when you behaved a certain way, you start influencing people. Mm-hmm. And that's why we say we build a tribe, we attract the people that really accepts us, who we are. And, whatever you have this self-negative thought of yourself, because you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not thin enough, you're not big enough, your hair is not dark enough, you're not blonde, whatever it is that we go through, it doesn't fucking matter.
No.
What matters is that you love yourself. And I said that the secret to becoming a person of influence is falling in love with yourself.
Oof, I got chills.
And I think that was the defining moment for you. Exactly what I just said is you fell in love with yourself. And some of us, because I told my Southeast Asia backpacking trip, and that's how I looked for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I left the country and did this crazy 30-day backpacking trip in June, and some of us have to do that to find ourselves.
Yeah.
Some of us have this defining moment when we look at the image of our own, which was the way that you did with your daughter, you know? So you were raised happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I was raised to
raising Danny?
take myself seriously.
How are you raising Danny that is similar, but yet different than how your parents raised you?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because we always tweak the things, so we take it with a grain of salt, right? And we mirror our parents the way they raised us, but we also have our own journey that allows us to apply some of the things that I think that's going to be good to add to that. So that's kind of what I meant.
It's a great question. I think because you hear a lot of times when you talk to other mothers, you talk about how you were brought up and how you want to raise people. And I think that it's important to talk about the things that are similar that you carry into your style of motherhood, but the things that you choose to change. And for me, being raised happy and having a happy childhood, you know, I was raised by a woman who became my best friend. I go to the movies with my mom. I tell her everything. There's nothing that my mom doesn't know. If I'm moving a chair, I'm rearranging my furniture, my mom knows about it. If I have a bad day, my mom will call me. I am so lucky to have a best friend in my mom, and I definitely kind of really wanted to carry that in my relationship with my daughter, with Danny, because it is such a comforting thought to know that within my mother lies my best friend, my soulmate. And it meant so much to me to bring that into my relationship with Danny and kind of make space in our amazing friendship for her. Because for me, no matter what I went through, no matter where I went, I always had my mother's love. That was unconditional. Man, you warned me, and I was,
Here comes the Kleenex that you didn't you didn't have.
My mom will bring on the waterworks. I wanted Danny to have that kind of love, because I think talking to girlfriends and doing what I do now and working with women, I hear so many women say they had awful relationships with their mothers, or absent mothers, or mothers who always criticize them. And I was like, I had no idea that moms were anything less than like the most amazing thing. And I want Danny to have that, because I think that the thing that defined me the most was having unconditional love. I could murder somebody and my mom would be like, where are we hiding the body? Like, no judgment. Like, we'll talk about how crazy you are later, but for now,
it's about you.
Get the bleach bottle. We gotta hide the body. Like, and my mom's a good, respectful Romanian woman. She'd be like, okay, get your gloves. You wouldn't even think twice. And like, I mean that. My mom loves me unconditionally. I could say that I want to chop off my arm tomorrow, and she'd be like, okay, let's talk about it. And I wanted Danny to have that, because I think that what women need is unconditional love. Not to be told to be perfect, which is, I think, what we've been doing with the generations before us. And I think maybe you'll agree, we're held to this totally separate standard than boys. Girls are supposed to be quiet. They're supposed to be respectful. They're supposed to be meek and little and quiet and second place kind of. And I think that there was a kind of like a pushback, like, no, girls should be up front. I think, and this is a revolutionary concept, I think that girls should be whatever the hell they want to be. Because we've been pushed in every directions, and I think that this generation is saying, enough. Like, we're doing shit how we want to do it. And I want to raise Danny like that. So that means I have to constantly check myself. Don't put preconceived notions on your child. Don't put your dreams and your goals on your child. I have to do that every single day because I don't want her to be a carbon copy of me or a better version of me. God, no. I want her to be her, like the best her she can be. I don't care if she's totally opposite than me or if she follows in every single footstep, as long as she's true to herself. Because like you talk about this all the time, to know yourself in this world, there's nothing more revolutionary than to know yourself, to be like unswayed by anything around you, to be kind of like singing in the storm, you know?
Yeah, you have to sing your own song. And although I said that you're singing my song, but I'm just saying that like I could relate to you.
Yeah.
But you have your own voice. You have to allow that voice to come through. I think a lot of times we are scared of being judged. And I had a guest here who's very, very super ultra spiritual, and she talks about how the earth is shifting. Like if you look at a lot of these spiritual guru, they look at the earth and like literally the light of the earth are shifting. And I don't know how to explain it, but she was amazing. And she talked about, you know, a lot of like how a lot of moms that are part of this revolution now, that we're raising our children in a very different way. And she said that when you look at the earth and the shift that's happening, you can directly relate that to what's happening in society, like us specifically as mothers, of how we're just waking up to this societal expectation and we are done with it, and we are not putting up with it, and we're raising our kids in a way that a lot of most Americans have never done before. And I say, you know what's funny, and I can hear your mom doing the same thing. It's like we've been, my parents and my grandma have been doing it for a long time, and America is just now waking up to it, you know? And we talked a lot about, you know, a lot of like divorces that are happening because of the older generation, to where they look at women as a second-class citizen, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're looking at women and it's our freaking time. We're looking at women as these free, do whatever you need to feel energized, you know, in this world, own your space, make sure your voice is heard. And our daughters and our sons are seeing that, and our next generation of men are going to be so amazing. Just like the next generation of women they're gonna be all on the same page because of the revolution that are happening right now. And that makes me so excited, because it truly doesn't happen right away. It has just been this little revolution that led to, finally, with social media, with all these technological advancement, we're able to lock arms with people that are in Poland. Like I've developed a friendship in Poland with this woman that's a mother hustler that was on my podcast. Mm-hmm. I have a friend in Switzerland. Like, it's just like, wow, okay, this is it. And we can't allow this to pass, and we have to own this. We all have to get this done for our next generation.
I agree. And I think that, I just lost my train of thought because I was so wrapped up in what you were saying. But this new generation that we're shaping, don't you think that, like, kind of when you become a mother, you kind of become connected to every single human being? Like, I had Danny, and all of a sudden I felt like I'm everybody's mother. Like, the moment I became a mother, if I see a mother, you know, struggling with a screaming toddler, I feel a moral obligation to pick up that kid by the foot and just be like, look, do your thing, I got him, until like you got your ish together. I feel like I have a moral obligation to human beings everywhere, because if there's one thing that motherhood did for me, is that it connected me to the world in a totally unique way. It wasn't about blending in or standing out. It was just about connecting to other human beings.
Yes.
Because when you connect with your child, or when you get to have this relationship, if you hadn't learned until that point, it helps you learn how you can belong in this world. And I think that that's what mothers get, like this great gift that we get to have. And obviously not everyone is fortunate enough to be a mother or chooses to have a mother, to be a mother. Like that's, but I think for me, becoming a mother made me a better person. In a way I never could have been.
Yeah, it upgraded my humanity.
Don't you think? Like in a way that I don't think it would have taken years for me to get to this mindset where I care about everyone the same way I care about my daughter. I always tell people, when I photograph you, I want to make you feel the way I would expect another photographer to make my daughter feel. And that's the reason behind what I do, because the way that I treat the world is the way I want the world to treat Danny. And like, imagine what kind of a world we would have if we all loved other people the way we love the person we love the most. I say that all the time.
Or we teach our kids and raise our kids to love themselves too first, you know? It's
what a concept.
It's a great concept, and Oprah Winfrey talks about this all of the time. Like, you have no right to be giving anything if you're not full of yourself. Mm-hmm. And I love it when people call me that you're full of yourself, because that has a negative tone on it. But she believes that being full of yourself is actually a positive thing, because you cannot give unless you have it. You can't give what you don't have, she says. You can't love someone if you don't love yourself. And it's just been, it's an easy concept, but it's truly very difficult to embrace for a lot of people. And I think it's a lot easier for us moms to embrace it, because we want to teach it to our kids. We are looking at life through our kids' lenses when you become a mom. And because we've been kids before, right? And so we know exactly what that transition from, 5 to 6 to 7, I mean, they start. And even when they're in the womb, they absorb things that they hear because they have a life already. They have a brain that's developing. And the more those brain develops, it develops the sense of, it absorbs like these information as they're developing, and it really etch it in their mind, just like you would carve something on a rock. It's carving it in their brain, whether we say that's true or not. It's been proven by science.
Yes.
So you talk about photography.
Yeah.
And I know that you used to have from society's expectation, you used to have this job, high-paying job, and you realize that your calling is to make women, just like you're making your daughter, feel good, validating her that she can be whoever she wants and she's beautiful the way she is. Mm-hmm. And you do that to all of your clients and every single woman that you photograph by showing them that that it's true when you show them their photograph. And then they feel good and ready to take on the world after you deliver that piece. Mm-hmm. How did you get to this career that you are in? And tell us a little background, because I want to inspire other women. One of the mission that I have is to mother the world, period. Because I think the world needs mothering to make the world a better place, but I can't do it alone. And that's why I have you and many other moms, because we as a demographic, mother hustlers, I created a new demographic.
I like it, as long as I'm a part of it.
We as mother hustlers can do it together, faster and better together. So to inspire other moms that may have found what energizes them. Because I heard Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule. Have you read her book?
I haven't, but I know about it.
So she said that she doesn't believe in a purpose or a passion, because in every single path that you go through in life and every single chapter that you go through in life is that you have something that energizes you, and you do what energizes you in that chapter of your life. So your passion can change, you know, you based on the version of you that's doing something. So how did you find out that taking photographs, specifically taking photographs of women to empower them, to show them how beautiful they are, no matter what they think they look like? How did you stumble upon that? Because a lot of us stumble upon our purpose and our passion.
Well, I tell everyone that up until I discovered photography, I never felt like I knew what my calling was. I was average at everything in school. I was a straight A student. I tried hard at everything I did, and I did okay in everything with a slight edge in art. Mm-hmm. But I never felt like, you know, when people are like, I'm just so pumped, I'm going to be a doctor when I grow up, or I'm going to be a lawyer. I would like flip flop through a million different things. And I ended up going to college just for the sake, you know, because I'm a child of an immigrant. Like, not going to college is not a choice. They'll send me to Romania for all I care, you know. And I went to University of Washington with trying to get a degree in foreign languages. I changed my mind 6 times. I thought I was never going to graduate. Managed to graduate on time with a degree in sociology. And I think that was a little bit of a little clue into how my life would shape out, because I think sociology attracted me because I liked this concept of looking at society as a whole and noticing trends and evolving and learning and growing from that, and also creating social change. So I'm not sorry that I went to college for something that I'm not using, because I think I am using it to a certain degree. You know, I got a different perspective on humanity and on society. And so I don't regret it. But I'd always felt that something was missing. I never felt like I was normal. I felt like something was wrong with me, that I was broken. And, you know, last year in college, you should be like, yeah, this is my life and I know exactly how it's going to be. And, you know, you're like, I'm in my 20s. If I haven't figured it out by now, I should be dead, right? Like, nobody tells you that, like, you could be 30 and still confused as shit. Like, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. But I had this little voice in my head that I think a lot of us ignore. And it was a voice that kept saying, like, art, art, art. But in Europe, being an artist is frowned upon because it doesn't make you money unless you're money driven. And I just ignored that voice for as long as I could. And in senior year, it was spring. I was graduating University of Washington, and we were going on vacation in Hawaii. I'd met my then boyfriend, and I said, do you think like maybe we should get like a fancy digital camera for like no reason, just to have it? But in my mind, I was spinning wheels that I didn't even know that I was spinning, you know. And I got my camera, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. The first time I held the camera, I just heard, and I know I'm hearing voices, but literally I heard a voice just like run through my body saying, yes.
It was downloaded into you. I do the same.
It is unbelievable. It was like a surreal, like akin to giving birth to Danny. That was the most monumental moment. I held that crappy camera in Best Buy. I remember what I was wearing. I remember the moment, and I just felt like, yes, like a piece just like fell into place in that moment. And then I just had to like admit to my family, like, I think I want to be a photographer. And they're like, you have like $25,000 in debt. What are you going to do? And I just didn't care. I shot my first wedding the year that I graduated from University of Washington for $100.
Wow.
And I remember my feet were aching. I had back pain, and I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. Like, I finally felt something that I was passionate about. And so I became a wedding photographer. And still, And so, of course, I became a photographer, and I was like, that's it. I found my calling. Everything's going to be perfect from now on. Nobody tells you about the journey, the ups and downs. And I was like, now everything's perfect, right? And so years later, I got married, and I really wanted to have a baby, and I had Danny. And motherhood taught me the harshest lesson, which was that it can be so lonely. It can be so dark, and we haven't been talking about it. We are talking about it now. We're talking about postpartum depression. We're talking about body, how fast you bounce back, or if you should, breastfeeding. We're talking about all this shit that we never talked about even 10 years ago. Yeah. So this is like brand new.
Yeah.
And I felt so lonely and so depressed. And I don't think that I had postpartum depression, but I felt so much guilt and shame about giving birth early. And I took that on as my fault, because girls are taught to be perfect. So if you do anything that's less than perfect, you are conditioned to shame yourself. You don't need anybody to shame. You don't need society, because you know plenty how to put yourself down. And as I was coming out of my darkness, I had the courage to speak up to my best friend, whom I didn't even tell anything to until Danny was about 2, because I didn't think that I deserved to be saved, which is the most awful, sad thing that most women can relate to, that you don't even think you're worthy of getting help. And I told her how I felt, and she said, Irene, you're a photographer. Use what you've been given to express yourself. And I was like, I don't want to photograph this feeling. I want to fix this feeling. And she said, then do that. So I started photographing women. And I realized that everything that I've been given by God or the universe was a tool. I talk too much. I'm a goofball. I make fun of myself. I make self-deprecating jokes on a day-to-day basis. These are all things that make women feel at ease. These are all things, they make women feel comfortable. And so it clicked. All the things that I've been given, that I've been told that I talk too much, that I'm too loud, that I'm too much. These were things that I could use to empower other women. So I started a studio. I opened up a studio in my own house, and I started photographing women. I started showing them that really any woman can look beautiful. It's just a matter of good lighting, a good photographer, and getting those real reactions, those real smiles, those genuine emotions captured on camera. Anyone can be beautiful, anyone. I have not yet met a woman that came with me with an open mind and an open heart that I couldn't make look amazing. You
are not a good photographer. You're a badass photographer.
I like that. I'll take that. Thank you.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Wow.
Thank you.
That is so inspiring, because there's a lot of, you talk about this voice that we hear a lot, and it's always in the whispers, right? It's like a whisper, never a loud voice.
Yep.
And we talk about how crazy we are because we hear voices. But I bet you that someone is listening and say, okay, I'm not the only one who hears voices. So I know you're out there.
Yeah.
You better just listen to that quiet voice. And it's funny because a lot of these little clues, because we try to block that voice. Okay, I have a degree in this. I need to do this, the thing that's aligned with my degree, not the thing that's aligned with my soul. So sorry, I'm not listening to you. We do that all the time, right?
Yeah.
But the thing of it is that no matter how we steer in a different direction, this is why adversities come up. This is why hardship comes up, because
You're pushing against the grain.
Yes. And yesterday there was a dying woman that spoke in the Spark events. And she said that because this is her third diagnosis, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2015. She became cancer-free with all the treatments. Then she got re-diagnosed a second time, then cancer-free in the third time. She said that she could do all the treatment, but she's tired of fighting. And she said, I'm not quitting, I'm just tired of forcing it. And she says, I am now at peace with just going with the flow instead of the force. And she had 2 weeks to live. And like, you could just see her face very at peace with her decision to not go through treatment. And sometimes that could be perceived as being selfish, you know, like especially with your families and your friends and whatnot. But when she spoke, like, there was never a time that she broke down and cried, which you would imagine with someone going through that. She really was at peace with her decision, and she's ready to pass through to the other side. And for me, I've always lived my life since I had the awakening and the transformation. And when I started it in 2012, like late 2012, when my grandmother passed and I couldn't go home because my business owned me, I didn't own it. But it had never been so clear to me until I heard it from a dying woman, you know? And so with you trying to not listen to the photographer calling, and there was just these little clues, though. When we go to the wrong path, there's always that little clue. It's almost like a breadcrumb with a little, what is that? Hansel and Gretel story.
Yeah. Yep.
It's almost like this breadcrumb that says, I'm still here, that little voice is still here. Here's a breadcrumb. I'm never going away.
You're ignoring me. Be careful.
Right. Yeah, so I love your story about how you like just say, you know what, I'm going to become a photographer and empower women that no matter what they look like, they're going to look good.
And I just want to say to anyone that is listening, if you think that you're going to decide to listen to your voice and it's going to feel normal or natural or good, girl, I got another thing coming. Like, you got another thing coming. It doesn't, chasing your dreams doesn't feel like, you know, a choir of angels coming down. It feels scary. It feels confusing. You're like telling yourself, like, I'm going to like bankrupt my entire family. This is stupid. I'm not using, like you said, I'm not using my degree. The voices are going to get louder because I feel like the truth is whispered to you. The lies are shouted at you, which is why we feel like we're screamed at when we criticize ourselves, when we tell ourselves that we're not good enough, that we're worthless, that where we come from defines who we are, that how we look like defines who we are. It's shouted at us.
Or your bank account defines who you are.
You can't do this. It's not the right time. You need to wait for a better time. Your kids are too small. You're selfish. You're a terrible mother. They're screamed at you. But the truth comes at you in a whisper. And if you're just brave enough to do it, if you're just brave enough to be honest with yourself, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, but it's so much worth it.
It's energizing. And that's what Mel Robbins says. Do what energizes you.
Yes.
You know, follow that energy. Listen to that energy. The energy is so quiet. That's why I meditate. That's why I get quiet. Like, I take a pause during my day to just have like deep breathing, or squatting, or just whatever it is that you can do to be quiet, whether you're drinking tea in a quiet room, because the whispers, that's when you can hear it, and you can hear it loud and clear.
Yeah.
But I always say, what if it was all made up, and from this moment on you can make it up yourself? What would you do?
Oh, that's so good. Oh my God, that's so good.
What if it's all made up and it's all false? Because truthfully, the past has passed. So from this moment forward, if you get to make up your story and make it all up, how would you do it? How would you design it? Right?
Yeah, I love that. I heard somebody say that the past and the future don't exist. They're myths. And that was, at first I was so confused. I was like, well, I plan for the future all the time. And then I spend most of my nights reliving past mistakes. So the past is damn real, if you ask me. Like, I can't believe I did that in the second grade. I'm a horrible human being, you know? And the more I thought about it, the truer it rings. That there's absolutely, you can spend your nights thinking about all of the things that you did wrong, or you could sleep.
I have killed myself in a lot of my worries.
Yeah.
Many times. And if you ever get a chance to listen to How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, it's an oldie but a goodie. Mm-hmm. And there's an audiobook for free on YouTube. It really is the whole truth about worrying and how much we have killed ourselves over and over and over again in just this thought process that we go through. Oh, or your family. Oh, I can't let so-and-so go there because something's going to happen. It's that we're forcing life instead of allowing life to flow.
Oh, yeah.
So, I could literally have you on the podcast again. Like,
I'm ready.
You know, I don't have a set question, and I just kind of like so overwhelmed with questions right now. I don't know which one to start. But then I have like, we're at 9:59 and I want to honor your time. Good. So my question to you right now, with everything that's going on, are you happy?
I had to take a second to breathe because we tend to answer automatically in our culture. Mm-hmm. And in our society. I think that I can honestly tell you that I'm happy, but it's not like this place where I'm at in life. Mm-hmm. It's that I choose to be happy no matter what happens to me. There are good days, there are bad days, but I'm always happy because I know who I am and what I have to give this world. I know what my mission here is, and I know that I'm loved unconditionally. I have everything I could ever want. And like I said, the rest is fluff. So yes. I am truly, no bullshit happy.
Somebody said that happiness is fleeting and it's temporary, and that growing is the most happy most people really are when you're growing. And sometimes growing comes with the good days and the bad days, the good moods and the bad moods, the bad hair day and the good hair day, you know. And so growing is not perfection, but you're making progress, and it is in progress that I think that as human beings, we're satisfied, and being satisfied is what makes us happy, and being fulfilled is what makes us happy. So I love that the way you answered that, and how you took a little bit of time and took a deep breath to answer that, because you well thought out what you were about to say. I love you even more.
Is that even possible? I mean, it's
like flaring with love. So
no, I love you. I think what you're doing is phenomenal, and I think that you are one of those like bringers of change. And I think that people like you are so important. And I put people like you on a pedestal. And when I see somebody like you who changes the status quo, who changes like how things are and empowers other women, like we are supposed to be pushing you forward so that you can keep leading more women. I think, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart. What you do is so important, and you are somebody that I would want my daughter to look up to, and that says a lot.
And that we lock arms, so we're on the same level, we're all on the same level. And the Rock, Dwayne Johnson is his real name, right? He always said that he heard this saying that it's good to be important. So I appreciate that you said that to me, but it's more important to be kind. Well, it's great to be important, but it's more important to be great and to be kind to others. Yeah. So I appreciate and I receive everything that you had said to me, but I want you to know that I will always make time for you. And I've heard some people that says I'm too busy, but all you have to do is ask for my time and I will give it to you. I always, when people say, do you have a minute? I always say, I don't have a minute, but I can make a minute. Time doesn't control me, I control time. So it's just, you know, I think as a woman too, we're so afraid to ask, you know, especially when someone is super busy in their life. And maybe I need that break, right? To have a conversation with you. Maybe I'm too busy and I need someone to ask me to take a break. You know, sometimes you just never know. You just have to, like you have to get your voice heard. You can't just assume. So, question for you. If your mother was listening, what message would you tell her?
Oh. My mom will be listening. She'll find this.
There you go. Because she knows everything.
She knows everything. She's like the almighty. If I had to say anything to my mom, it's just, oh God, everything I do, it's to make you proud. So as long as that, my compass is to be a good human being and a good example for Danny, and to make sure that every sacrifice my mother made was worth it. So I want to be the best version of myself, because I know my mom loves me unconditionally. And I know that the only way that I need to honor her sacrifices is to be happy. Oh, and what a gift she gave me. I'm so grateful that she never once tried to change me or shape me into anything else. She just loved me the way I am. That's like the greatest testament of what kind of a mother she was, that she's been, that she just let me be me.
Wow, I love that story that you shared about when you were a teenager and you threw a fit and your mom just took you around town and drive you. And I'm like, wow, what a mother.
Yeah. Yeah, I was being such a drama queen, and my mom just like shoved me in the car. A boy had just broken my heart, and she shoved me in the car, and we just drove and drove and drove. And I thought I was going to get like this speech or something, you know, that she's going to give me some advice. But I think that she knew what I am becoming very aware of as a woman is that our children already know the right thing, and they already know the answer. What they need is more love. They don't need answers. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to give them information. They're smarter than us anyways.
Yes,
they just need more love. Yeah, like we live with some terrorists in our house, don't we?
Like, you know, we talk about our moms and we love them to death. And I think that we become really great moms because of our moms too. And it's very evident with how you were raised and how you're raising Danny. What is that one thing that annoys you to death that your mother do?
Oh,
can of worm.
Okay, so the most annoying is, I think, her driving. She drives like a squirrel. And she's like, oh God, oh, something's over there. And she won't, like, but the other thing that she does is that she, like, brain ninjas me. And, like, when I was a teenager, she'd go, like, oh, are you leaving the house? And I would be like, yes. And she's like, oh, and you're going to wear that? Okay, if that's what you want. And then I'd go change, because obviously she wasn't happy. It's the brain ninja, because she's so much smarter than me. And she's just like, she just karate chops my brain.
I love that. I love brain ninja you. So my kids Google me all the time, and it's so funny. They Google me all the time. If Danny was listening, what would you tell Danny?
That being her mom has been the greatest honor, that it defines who I am to my core, and that my love for her will never end. Do you know, a few days ago, Danny came up to me and she said, Mommy, I have to tell you something. And I was like, okay, what did you break? And she goes, I don't want to have babies. And I was like, okay, well, you're 5. Cool. And she goes, no, I love babies. And if you wanted to have more babies, I'd take care of them. But I don't ever want to have a baby of my own.
Wow.
And so I just looked at her and I was like, okay, why are you telling me? She said, because I'm really scared that you're going to be sad that you're not going to be a grandma. She's 5 people. And she's like worried about the consequences of her. Like, and
oh my gosh.
And I go, Danny, you could have 0 children, or you could have 50 children, or you could adopt, or you could have dogs, or you could find like blue aliens and raise them as your own. I don't care. There's nothing that you could do that would make me love you any less. And she said, she took a deep breath and she goes, okay, good. Can we go to Chipotle? And I was like, yeah, we can go to Chipotle. So that's my relationship with Danny. For me, she can do no wrong. She could raise blue aliens and I'd be like, cool. What are we naming them?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So the last question I have, what is your definition of a mother hustler?
Ooh, I think that a mother hustler is a mother who teaches her children how to chase dreams. I think that a mother hustler is somebody who is obviously a mom of any kind, and is living bravely. I think that to me it means that she's not simply existing. She's not simply surviving. She's living the best life that she can live. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy or that it's perfect, but she's doing what she loves and she's setting an example and she's like intrinsically aware that she's being watched. That's what a hustler means to me.
Watched by your children.
Yeah. Probably the FBI too, depending on what you're doing. I don't know. But definitely
it's not about what you tell them, it's about what you show them.
Oh yeah.
Wow, girlfriend, this has been one of the most amazing conversations I've had on the podcast. I am so proud of you chasing your dreams and being this badass mother, badass photographer, and badass of a woman.
Oh, that means so much coming from you.
A dear friend. And I commend you for everything that you're doing and anything that you need. I'm here to help. I know you'll do the same for me. And I am blessed to know you. It's been, I always laugh around you and not only laugh, but cry, but on a happy note, you know, cry from the place of victory, I think. And I always say that, you know, your adversities can be leveraged for your story and can be leveraged for your business. Just do it from a place of victory, not victimry. And I just love everything that you represent, everything that you are doing. You know, when you look at photography, you look at it as, it's just another photographer. But you are a different breed of a photographer.
That's the nicest thing. It doesn't get better than that. You couldn't have called me anything better than that.
From Romania, bred from Romania. I'm blessed to know you. So thank you so much for enlightening all of us, not just me, not just America. And I know someone from Romania, from across the globe, from anywhere in the world, whoever gets to listen to this will be like, I just love her. So they're going to be like, I just love her. Where can I find her? So tell them where they can find you, which social media outlet you usually hang out, what your website is, so they can find you.
So you'll find me on Facebook for sure, posting at 2 a.m. because that's when my kid is asleep and I'm like texting in bed. I am on Facebook and on Instagram under Irina Negrean. It's IRINA and EGREAN, or my website, irinanegrean.com. I have Snapchat, but I wouldn't go on there. It's really lame and uncool. But Facebook and Instagram, and that's about it, I think.
You're on LinkedIn too?
I think so. It's when I was trying to be something other than photographer, so I don't really use LinkedIn. Maybe I should.
That's okay. I have I'm gonna add all those information on the podcast notes anyways, so they can find you. But it's always nice to hear.
No one can spell this name. Like,
thank you so much, and I sincerely appreciate our conversation. Stay there, okay? I'm gonna end recording, but